Good evening. Welcome to Gay Newsbreak. I'm John Beebe.
And I'm Dorinda Boswell.
U.S. Representative Ernest Istook, Republican from Oklahoma, has joined 9 other lawmakers in filing a brief in a New Jersey lawsuit involving the Boy Scouts of America and gays. According to Istook, New Jersey court ruled the Boy Scouts were wrong in expelling an openly gay assistant scoutmaster. Istook said the court ruled gays must be permitted to lead a scout troop in that state because of its law banning discrimination against homosexuals. That ruling has been appealed to the New Jersey Supreme Court. Istook and other members of Congress filed a Friend of the Court brief. They support the right of the Boy Scouts to set their own standards, which would allow them to bar gays from participation. Dorinda?
Thank you, John. A 74-year-old gay man in Manila is seeking reparation from Japan for being held as a sex slave in World War II. Walter Dempster says he and 5 of his drag queen friends were kidnapped, taken to a garrison in suburban Manila, and forced to serve as Japan soldiers for several months. Dempster says the incident has caused him nightmares for years. A Manila city attorney is helping Dempster with his court case.
It may have taken MTV viewers of one cable system by surprise when a 30-second spot sandwiched between music videos aired an invitation to church. Perhaps even more surprising, the advertisement was specifically directed towards gay and lesbian viewers. The TV spot is part of a national congregational-based campaign by churches who want to be known as a welcoming and affirming place of worship for gay and lesbian people, and who want to challenge the notion held by many gay and lesbian people that their sexuality and spirituality are incompatible. The campaign is being coordinated by Word of Life Ministries of New Orleans, which has recently released 2 30-second spots to congregations for use on local TV systems. One spot features scenes of gays and lesbians in an upbeat worship setting, while the voiceover narration says, "These are the faces of some Christian gay people. It's time for the church to take another look." Well, we'll have to wait to see if they appear in Oklahoma.
In Slovenia, lawmakers in this small country have done what those in the United States have not. Without a law of fanfare, lawmakers there passed a simple non-discrimination law that now includes sexual orientation. The new law reads, in part, an employer may not put an employment seeker in an unequal position because of his or her sexual orientation or other personal circumstance.
A new study released this month resoundingly debunks widely held beliefs about the economic status of gay, lesbian, and bisexual people. Contrary to what has become conventional wisdom, gay, lesbian, and bisexual people do not earn more than heterosexual people do. In fact, they may even earn less. The report was released by the Policy Institute of the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force and the Institute for Gay and Lesbian Strategic Studies. The evidence from many different scientifically sound data sources points to the same clear conclusion. Gay, lesbian, and bisexual people do not earn more than heterosexual people, either as individuals or as couples. Some gay, lesbian, bisexual people are poor, some are rich, and most are in the middle, just as heterosexual people are. And now that we have credible data, we can stop relying on flawed studies that were designed to find high-income gay people, says Dr. M.V. Badgett, author of the report.
Well, 200 men in a small mining town of Weepaw in Queensland, Australia, ran around the town's traffic circle naked. Was this some kind of mass hysteria? No. They pulled the stunt as a way of raising money for charity. As the men ran around the circle for more than half an hour, a crowd of about 800 onlookers dropped money into the plastic bags they were carrying. In all, over $1,200 was raised for a medical service that flies doctors into outlying areas.
I wonder how something like that would work here in the Oklahoma, state of Oklahoma.
I think it would be fabulous.
Run around naked and give money.
Yes.
That's interesting. Well, they probably pay us to keep ours on. Well, stay with us, and we'll be right back with Inside Out after this.
Good night, sweetheart.
Good night, Martha.
It would be nice if latex condoms were automatic. But since they're not, using them should be. Simply because a latex condom used consistently and correctly will prevent the spread of HIV.
Thank you for staying with us. I'm Chuck Jones with tonight's Inside Out. And tonight we have with us Joe Quigley. He is a member of the Education Through Diversity Committee of the Oklahoma City Public Schools. And thanks for being with us, Mr. Quigley. We've really had a nice discussion here before the camera came on. There are a lot of exciting things going on in the national school systems across the nation, and he wanted to come here and fill us in on some of the things, educate us as an educator on some of the things that we need to know to help better educate our students on gay and lesbian issues. Why don't you begin telling us a little bit about the sexual harassment policy? There's a new policy that's gone into effect.
Yeah, as a result of some of the court cases over the summer, gay and lesbian kids are now covered under the Title IX sexual harassment statute.
Okay.
And the school district this year, after a year and a half of reluctance, now has to go around from school to school explaining to the teachers that if they don't do anything about the harassment of gay and lesbian students in our schools, then the district will be legally liable.
So if a student is harassed for being gay, the school can be sued?
Yes.
In
And
effect.
the best protection that the kids have is, from now on, if you're gay or lesbian, or soon to be gay or lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, if somebody's harassing you, go to the principal, and then the school district has to do something because they are now aware of the harassment. Has to be reported, or they're not responsible. If it's reported, they have to be protected.
Excellent. There was a statement that I would like you to read by a man by the name of Dr. Hawthorne Faison. Why don't you read that for us, a little bit about...
This is the statement that is being given at all of the sexual harassment in-services at the school district this year.
To help educate teachers on...
To help educate teachers, because if the kids come to the teachers with a complaint and the teachers don't do anything, the school district will still be liable.
Excellent.
And what he basically said was, recently there have been same-sex sexual harassment complaints, and the more and more we have to realize that among our children there are some of them who have not determined fully their sexuality, and there are some of our children that may be gay. Regardless of what you think, let me tell you one thing that is an imperative: these children must be protected. If we don't pay attention and protect those children, we are in violation of their rights under Title IX.
That's fantastic. So this is what's being read to teachers. Now, under the Equal Access Act, what is being done with the gay and lesbian and straight alliances? Do we have any clubs?
We don't have any, but the technicality is they have to be brought up or suggested by students, not by teachers. Teachers can't bring it up. Okay, it has to be done by students. So if there's any students watching, it might be a good idea to take the hint and bring it up, because with the equal access, if they can have things like Fellowship of Christian Athletes and Bible study groups, then if they receive federal funds, they have to have a gay-straight alliance.
Okay, so if you're a student out there and you want to help, if you maybe you're straight and you want to help your gay and lesbian friends, or if you're gay and you want to help educate straight people on what it's like to be gay, take Mr. Quigley's example and start your own club. I'm a little curious about maybe some of the outside negatives that have come into this by trying to start gay clubs. People may think there's like your sex education involved or something.
Yeah, when we started about a year and a half ago to get the school district to accept the fact that there's gay and lesbian kids in the district and they do have needs and they should be dealt with, they came up with the usual recruitment objections, we're going to teach them sex objections, you know, it's a political thing. And it was only when they finally sat down and got the information they realized that it's a kid thing, it's a student thing. At school board meetings, when I've gone before the school board and brought up the kid issues, I was usually followed the following week or so by people that were, you know, oh, we're going to teach them sex, and ooh, you know. And you're going to get that. You just have to, those people, they're going to say it anyway, so let them get it out of their system and then just move on and do what you have to do.
Excellent. So are you getting a lot of positive feedback from those in authority and
we got one good thing happened from, well, a couple of good things, the fact that the kids are now protected, but another thing that's happened is they now have a diversity and education committee, which they tried a year and a half ago, but didn't work out, long story. This year they're trying it again, and it's mostly administrators from various elementary, secondary schools, and I'm on it also as the representative of gay people. So the district actually now has a diversity committee that includes a spokesperson for gay and lesbian, bisexual, transgender people. And what they're trying to do is come up with what they call an action plan for diversity. And they're trying to find ways of working diversity into the curriculum in a natural, non-forced way. And anybody that can help, getting ways to bring in gay and lesbian issues or topics, or finding a way of working it in naturally into the curriculum, suggestions are welcomed.
Well, great. Mr. Quigley, thank you so much. Time is short. If you want more information, I'm sure that you can contact, is there someone that they can contact for more information about this?
They could call me at, I guess, my school.
Okay. Taft
Middle School, 23rd and May, the big gay-looking school.
Mr. Joe Quigley. And stay tuned for this public service announcement, and we'll be back with Desmond and the health news.
It's not going to happen to me.
Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen to me.
I was really shocked when I found out I was infected. I didn't think anything like this could ever happen to me.
Only certain people get it.
I'm a good example that you can get AIDS from heterosexual sex.
Who cares?
I'm trying to make the best of the time that I have left, because realistically, I really don't know how much time that is.
You could be putting yourself at risk. Call 1-800-342-AIDS.
Welcome back, and we have Desmond Stone with your health news. Desmond.
Thank you, John. At a time when women are contracting HIV at a greater rate than men, Martin Foreman, director of the AIDS program for the Panos Institute, says that men with a desire to prove their machismo continue to take dangerous risks, such as not wearing condoms when having sex. He adds that this and other risky behaviors are based in part by the traditional concepts of masculinity, which is impacting women on a global scale. He says women's vulnerability to HIV often reflects their secondary status in society, such as being financially and emotionally dependent on men. Also, the fear of appearing to be sexually aware often prevents women from discussing sex or even asking her male partner to wear a condom. Foreman was quoted as saying, "Without men, there would be no AIDS epidemic." Dr. Stephen J. O'Brien of the National Cancer Institute recently published the results of a study that identified a gene that apparently facilitates rapid progression to AIDS. About 20% of persons who quickly progress to AIDS carry the gene. O'Brien says that knowledge of the gene may not allow for anti-HIV treatments, but it could allow for determining the efficacy of vaccine candidates. According to University Hospital in Colorado, AIDS mortality rates there have dropped over 80% in the last 3 years. And the largest AIDS care center, the Denver Health Medical Center, reported that AIDS deaths decreased 47% between 1995 and 1997. In Oklahoma, the latest figures show a similar trend. In 1994, there were 294 AIDS-related deaths compared to 173 in 1996. That's approximately a 41% decrease in mortality rates for this state. The declines were attributed to improvements in AIDS treatment therapies. Based on telephone interviews with over 1,200 people, a recent poll shows that Americans believe diseases such as hepatitis, cancer, and AIDS will be cured within the next 30 years. When asked what they felt the greatest medical breakthroughs of this century were, 30% said penicillin and other antibiotics, while 25% chose organ transplants. 35% would like to see medical advances creating safe and foolproof birth control. 30% thought weight control medications should lead the way to the future, and 7% preferred to see breakthroughs in hair loss prevention. And on a side note, interestingly enough, 21% of the respondents thought astrologers can predict the future, while 16% thought psychics can, and only 1 in 10 people felt pollsters could do the same. And that wraps it up for your health news. Have a great week. John, Dorinda, back to you.
Well, that's very interesting to know. Astrologers, huh?
Yeah, you
I
never
guess
know.
Nancy Reagan wasn't so wrong, was she?
No, yeah, there might be some validity to it.
How about this change in weather we've had all of a sudden? I mean,
I love
it's
it.
like seasonal. It's like it's supposed to be.
I love the change of seasons. That's the one thing I do like about Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We get to experience that. It may not last very long, but we get to experience it.
Well, have you been lucky enough to get your Christmas shopping finished yet?
Oh, no. I haven't even started.
Not at all? Are you one of those, like, last-minuters?
Oh, yeah, it just comes to me right at the last minute.
Go on Christmas
Go
Eve
get
with
it.
the rush, huh?
Pretty much.
With everybody else. Well, I've managed to get most of mine. I
Have
still
you?
have a couple to get. And I understand that we're going to be almost going to the same place for
How
Christmas. Isn't that
fun,
funny?
yeah.
She's going to Boulder, and I'm going to Denver to see my brother. And
Yeah, we're
that's-
both going skiing.
Yeah.
So it's
that's
going to be
gonna
a lot of fun.
be
I can't
fun.
wait. Might just pass you on the road and say hi.
Well, we'll have to take our camcorders and maybe get some
Some video
footage
for the
of the
show.
falling down the mountain or something like
Oh,
that.
no. Well, I think Chuck Jones has some entertainment news that might be a little more entertaining than us.
Wake up, Chuck. You're on.
Yeah, great. Hearing about your snowing that you're going to be, or skiing that you're going to be doing on Christmas. I'm going to be here. Thanks. Anyway, in entertainment news, television seems to be getting very gay aware this season, perhaps more than in any other year. Although Ellen DeGeneres' sitcom was canceled, it appears that her success is still having an effect. The TV show Will and Grace is one of the new hits of the season, which may prove to some studio executives that having a gay lead character on your show does not mean disaster. NBC has enough faith in Will and Grace's success that it has decided to move the show to Tuesday nights. I'm anxiously awaiting to see just when the gay character Will be given a boyfriend. And many other shows are also scrambling to get on the gay bandwagon as well. The Fox show Beverly Hills 90210 has announced that it will be adding a gay character to its lineup. This one will be a woman. Played by Christina Belford, Samantha Sanders came out to her son on the December 2nd episode. It is yet uncertain where Fox will take this character. And with the announcement of the Sundance Film Festival competition entries, the number of gay-themed films seems to be smaller than in previous years. Of the 114 films selected to be screened, only 2 appear to be gay. In the dramatic competition category is the film Happy Texas, which is a comedy. I'm not sure how that fits in the dramatic category. It's about 2 escaped convicts who get caught up in a small town's drag queen pageant. And in the American Spectrum category is the 1998 Los Angeles Outfest winner, Edge of 17, a gay coming-of-age story about a group of small-town Ohio teens in the 1980s. The Sundance Film Festival takes place January 21st to the 31st in Park City, Utah. And Oklahomans, we have our own gay film festival coming up in January. You'll want to stay tuned for more information about that. John and Dorinda?
Thank you, Chuck. We'll be right back after this PSA. Stay with us.
Advising people how to move Congress is very easy. Getting them to follow the advice is very hard, and I get frustrated by that. I want gay men and lesbians to take the National Rifle Association as their model, or maybe the American Association of Retired Persons. Those 2 organizations have a great deal of influence, and you can agree or disagree with the NRA's agenda. That doesn't affect your view of how effective their methods are. You write to members of Congress and you call them, and you don't write to anybody whose name you see in the paper. You write to your representative and your senator. Members of the House and of the Senate listen to their constituents. Not 100% of the time, not on every issue, but one of the biggest impacts on us is what the constituents say. I think things are getting better. Prejudice is somewhat on the defensive, but it's got a lot of kick left. And the key will be to the gay men and lesbians and the people who love us and care for us, care more about ending bigotry than the bigots care about perpetuating it. If you ask the average member of Congress today, he or she has heard more from the bigots who want to perpetuate the bigotry than from those of us who want to oppose it. And until and unless we have enough determination and discipline to reverse that, because I think we have the numbers. If we don't immobilize them, then we're not going to win.
The Employment Non-Discrimination Act, ENDA, would protect gays and lesbians from being fired, from being denied employment, from being discriminated against on the job, from being paid less for doing the same job based solely on one's sexual orientation. Contact your senators and representatives and tell them to support ENDA. Get your family and friends to do the same. This is Pat Schroeder. I was one of the original co-sponsors of ENDA. Every morning, Congress opens with the Pledge of Allegiance saying liberty and justice for all. And then they work all day to keep hate alive. Remember, liberty and justice for all. What part of all don't we understand?
Well, as you're all aware, Alan has announced he's HIV positive. He's okay, but does anybody know what he's going through? What do our people think? We need to get on this. Shirley, do we have an employee policy? Are we required to set one up? Kurt, is he covered by our insurance plan? Okay, Ellen, as his manager, is he entitled to extra time off?
At least 1 in 10 businesses has had an employee with HIV.
John. Terry?
If you have a business, you need answers.
How can we help? Anybody? Anybody at all?
Call for this manager's kit and help keep your workplace healthy and productive.
It's awfully quiet in here.
Y'all let me get a word in.
Welcome back. We've got the holiday spirit going to settle Eddie down there. He's jumping around like a Mexican jumping bean.
Easy, baby.
Well, if you haven't noticed already, we are getting into the Christmas spirit of things. We've all decorated up here. I think it looks pretty good.
It actually
helps get everyone in the mood for the holidays. Yeah.
Well, I know at Diversity this weekend we had a festive time. We did our tree trimming party, and I got up there and sang Christmas carols, and then we all ended in a circle doing Silent Night, and that was so fun.
That sounds like fun.
It really got everybody in the festive spirit, so you have to come by. It's all decorated up.
Definitely, and we want to also mention to everyone out there that we're going to have a Christmas show on Christmas Eve here in 2 weeks. So we encourage all of you to tune in and view and listen to Dorinda sing. Chuck's going to sing.
I'm going to sing, and Desmond, you're going to read poetry?
I'll do the health news. That's my point.
I think we've got some,
maybe you can sing the health
some
news.
Christmas stories and things like that Desmond will read. He's got a great voice.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
You know, I had talked a couple of weeks ago about the flushing of the HIV virus out of some people. And you have something to elaborate on that because you actually broke the story before even CNN.
That's right. In this area, I got the information prior to CNN, or we broadcast it here on this show, I want you to know, before CNN aired it that day, I think you mentioned, or the day before. And what you were asking about that and what that does, the procedure that they were talking about, it doesn't really flush the virus from the system. The terms that they were using referred to flushing the virus as in finding it in hidden reservoirs in the body. And once they can pull it out of those areas, they can then begin to treat it, whereas they haven't been able to do that up until this new treatment was developed by Anthony Fauci.
That's excellent news.
It's wonderful news. Wonderful news.
Where do you see this going? I mean, do you see them having more success with this procedure and eventually, I mean, how risky is it to someone's health? How healthy do they have to be to undergo the operation?
I'm not really certain about that. They're using it. It's really not an operation. It's a combination of chemicals. You know, using interleukin-2, which is the body's one of the body's own chemicals, in combination with another chemical that's been used traditionally to treat AIDS or HIV. I think this opens up, you know, wonderful opportunities for treating patients and attacking the virus when it couldn't before, when it wasn't available before.
You know, and people are living longer with it, and we still need to encourage everyone out there to practice safe sex if you're going to have sex, because those numbers have not gone down. I mean, we still have, the numbers are continuing to rise with people getting infected with HIV.
The number of AIDS-related deaths have decreased dramatically in industrialized countries. But you're right, the number of HIV infections have remained the same, and that is frightening. There's a message there.
Well, you thinking with the mentality of that they feel like, well, they've found a way to manage it, so if I get it, at least I can manage it and live with it, so I don't have to be as careful.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest mistakes out there. So we really encourage all of you out there to please continue practicing safe sex if you're going to have sex.
Exactly.
And I believe you were in a production a week or so ago of Hansel and Gretel.
Exactly. Last weekend I was in Hansel and Gretel on Friday and Amal and the Night Visitors on Saturday and Sunday, and they were some really fascinating productions. Yeah, I was really glad to... Amal and the Night Visitor is such a moving show. I didn't really realize until we got into performing it.
And they can see you again this Saturday?
Saturday at the Quell United Methodist Church on Northeast 50th. And the performance is at 3:30 in the afternoon, and Amal and the Night Visitors.
We encourage all of you to attend.
A good way to get in the Christmas spirit.
Yes. And we are out of time. We'll see you next week, and thank you again for staying with us. And again, we encourage you to call in on our talkback line. We appreciate your comments.
Have a great week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.